You're listening to the Waypoint TV Podcast Network, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors.
The 1911 is one of the most iconic firearms in history. Designed by John Browning, the 1911 was the standard issue sidearm of the U.S. military from 1911 to 1985. While Colt produced the original, almost every major firearm company has produced its own version. It's wildly revered for its reliability, crisp trigger, and is still a favorite for all types of shooters. Whether you're looking to buy or build a 1911 and just about everything for guns, log on to midwayusa.com.
If you hunt enough, you learn the truth. What you seek speaks a language and knows it well. That's why every Primo's call for everything you hunt is made the right way. We sweat every detail so you get more out of every hunt, and nothing leaves our hand until we know it'll work in yours. Because we don't just make the world's best calls, we speak the language. Primos.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, David Ian Howe. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you guys doing?
Awesome.
We're doing great.
Glad to have you on, my friend.
Yeah, of the people that like randomly DM'd me to be on a podcast, I've probably interacted with you guys like the most consistently. Like
we love sliding into your DMs.
I appreciate it. You send funny stuff.
Yeah. Oh, are you one of Luke's recipients? Does he say?
Yeah.
I get like a constant stream of things from Luke, and I'm just like, I can't even watch all these.
I can't either. I to the point today with some of the stuff some of my friends were sending me, I was like, I am overwhelmed. I don't know what to do anymore. Do I watch them and be mean to them? We're friends. I don't want to do that. But at the same time, it's like I skim selectively, but a lot of times it's misleading. One of them I clicked on, it was hilarious, but I judged the thumbnail and it looks stupid. And it was nothing even related to it, you know?
Classic mistake.
So I have a hard time.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I don't send you as many as I send Clay. I keep yours
You
kind
send
of
like
restricted.
an appropriate amount. Oh, sorry.
Restricted to like a certain kind of genre that fits our relationship, if you will.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's what memes are for, like on Instagram, really.
Yeah.
It's like, I casually know this person. They might laugh at this. We send them 6. But yeah, you do like a perfect amount. I've met with other people that like send me like so many a day. And I'm like, dude, I can't like get through it. But you'll send me like one, which is manageable.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
So David, because you got like a pretty big account, like how is that? I've talked to other people with big accounts. Like, how is that for managing like getting messages? Like chaos.
Yeah, I just learned today how to like, because I keep getting added to like these random Chinese cam girl like group chats, and like but you can turn that off now. Like you have to be friends to be included in a group. So like, there's hundreds of those, and in that, in like my spam folder or whatever, there will be like 3 legitimate questions or like something from you guys being like, someone's like, hey, you want to be on my podcast? So I got to filter through all that. So I'm glad I can get rid of the chat groups. But yeah, man, like the bigger it got, the more difficult it is to like go through them all. But I try my best to at least read them. And I used to freak out if I left people unseen, because like I would freak out if someone read a message and I didn't respond or something. But I think people understand. Like I'm just busy, and like I might have thought to respond, but then I got distracted. So
yeah.
But yeah, lots of usual questions. People respond to stories a lot. What kind of dog do you have is the most constant one, and then like no feet pics or anything as of late. But that was a thing. Trying to think of anything else.
I like it when people get butthurt
just
real bad and then try and like message you a million times about to how you're terribly wrong and you should be canceled.
Yeah, like you need to use your platform more responsibly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. And those ones are tough because sometimes people make valid points and I want to read it and respond and like respectfully respond, in which case usually means like to write a paragraph of equal length being like, yeah, you're right, blah, blah, but sometimes I just don't have time. So they probably just think I'm a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but comedy,
If I can curse,
like
sorry.
so many times you post and it's something meant to be comedic, and people take
Right.
it literal, and then just turn it into this big hate fest. And it's like, wow, man, whatever happened to people having a sense of humor? You know, can we
Yeah.
just go back to being like the Hadza and just laughing at farts all day? I mean,
I would love that, dude. But yes, that is very common. And I think most people, even if they don't know me, could kind of figure out what's comedic and what's not, because it's usually like very sarcastic. But I do understand some people get rightfully confused, so I'll try to like respond to that and be like, yeah, my bad.
Yeah. Especially, have you ever seen like people freaking out over satire accounts? They're like whole accounts that aren't even real. They're just joking, and then people think they're real.
Like the Onion or something.
Yeah, things like that.
like the
Or
Make
there's just
Hunting Great Again one.
make hunting great again.
Oh, that dude's got like, I don't know, he may have like 1 million followers. And it's just some
Mhm.
random dude that's never shown his face on there. Like he's shown like feet pics in shoes just to like troll people, you know, like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'll show you who I am. But like at the same time, just kind of, I mean, some of the stuff is probably going too far, but he does it
Right.
to try and make a point, you know, how far gone the hunting industry really is, and how it's no longer really about hunting, but about money and marketing and all that kind of stuff. And he does expose a lot of that, but at the same time, like, he's just savage about it.
Yeah. No, I respect that. I'll have to check that one out.
Hey David, so I recently saw you were doing some flint napping, and I wanted to say that a couple months ago I was at this event called the Earthcraft Skillshare, and I got to sit around with a bunch of flint nappers and do some napping myself. And
Cool.
I managed to make a couple like actual usable like arrowheads.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, it was like really cool. And I was like, damn, this is awesome. But I was sitting there with I guess he's like world famous. His name's Doug. I forget his last name, but he makes these like just super crazy intricate
I
Yeah.
think his name's probably Doug Flutie.
Doug Flutie.
Doug
Yeah.
Flint.
Uh,
Larry Flint.
But how into flint napping are you? Because I've never like gathered that from watching your stuff. Just
I used to flint nap a lot more all the time and post about it. But yeah, like I love it. It's like the one thing that it uses the same part of your brain as chess. So like
Mm.
it's like that logic and calculating thing. So it kind of shuts my brain off, and I can listen to a podcast in the background while I'm doing it, but it like completely consumes my focus and I don't really stress about anything else. I guess kind of like painting for some people. Um, but yeah, I love that. And then it's taken me years to get to the point where I am where I can take a big rock, put it into shape, and then make something like this that's
Very
like
Oh.
nice.
thin. So it takes a lot of patience. Some people pick it up right away, other people don't. Yeah, I really like it. I need to post more about it, but it gets expensive because you want to either you got to go find and mine rock off land where you can do it legally, or you got to order it from like your rock guy, and that gets
Mm.
expensive. But
yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta imagine. And then like you're making mistakes and like
Yeah.
that guy I was telling you about, he was saying that as a flint napper, you had to have like the world's worst amnesia. Like you just have to embrace it because you'll just get to the point where you'll make like this really elaborate piece and then you'll be notching it at the end and then just break the whole thing and just be like, "Ah, whatever." You know,
Yeah.
like just forget about it.
Yeah, dude, you get I guess spilled milk is the phrase I would use. Like you're just gonna, or you got to break eggs to make an omelet. Like you're gonna break many, if not most of them.
Most of your eggs.
But I was joking the other day with my friends because I'm flint napping and they can make these nice elaborate, like I can't pressure flake an arrowhead to save my life. I think it's because I can't really picture the shape and I just end up keep going at it. But I'm stuck in like the middle Paleolithic. I can do anything from like Oldowan to Acheulean to like what was in ancient France. But then after that, I'm kind of shitty because I can't go any further. But As I was telling a lot of the visitors this weekend, and we had a bunch of fake points and casts from all over the world, and mostly North America, but like since the natives here were in the Stone Age technically till 1492, like they just became the absolute best flint knappers on the planet, and their stuff is just so intricate. That's why arrowhead hunting here is so big, because it was their way of life, and it's everywhere.
So they were actually like legitimately the best.
I would say so. The Aztecs got crazy with because they had, farmers, weavers, like people that were doing jobs all day. So somebody was a flint napper all day and made like points and stuff. I guarantee. And they like made they're called eccentrics, and like it's where you make like coyote shaped ones or
yeah, I've seen
yeah
those.
yeah, people sell them at like flea markets and stuff or at nap-ins, but that's when it gets crazy. But I would say in North America, from Clovis till Columbus, it is like hands down, like you can pick it up and be like, that's really good craftsmanship.
Wow.
Pretty good in Europe and Asia too, but Europe used more blades than they did like big bifacial tools. Getting too into the weeds with words, but
that's okay.
Yeah.
So explain to those who don't know, what's that mean?
Yeah, so I have like this rock here, you can't really see, but this has like scarring on the front side and scarring on the back side. Whereas a lot of arrowheads are like kind of very smooth because it was from just a flake they knocked off and shaped. So bifacial reduction, Homo erectus figured that out. Like take it, hit, flip it, hit. And that's pretty ubiquitous around the world. In like the Middle Paleolithic, Late Paleolithic in Europe, they have a nice points like that. A lot of them used just antler points for a long time. The Solutrean points are really big and nice and flat like that. But then they also used in Europe blade technology, which is just taking a piece of rock or chert or flint, and then rather than bifacially breaking it down into something small and flat, they like kind of made it very angular, kind of like a square, and pushed or like punched like blades off the side. So very thin flakes that are like sharp on all ends. And that's really common in Europe.
Which
My theory is it's just
I did it. I did that just jacking around trying to figure out, and like I was like, oh well, that's sharp enough. You could use that. Just like knocking off like a square piece, and like or having a rock that's like triangular or something and hitting it, and it makes a a nice somewhat triangular blade. And
that's all you need.
Yeah, and it's sharp. I mean,
cut
myself pretty good.
Yeah, you'll do that. I still got cuts all over my hand. Neanderthals too would take, like I have a plate here, just sitting here. They would take a big rock. The plate it's relevant. Like they'll take a big one and picture like the shape of the tool they want in the middle of it and hit the rock in such a way in this method that they all used called levoa. It's French. And they would bust out a flake that was sharp on all ends, except for like the one little nub where it was hit. And it's really complicated, and I still can't do it well, but Neanderthals could. And then modern humans came in and just kind of were more efficient. Like they could just take off flakes and shape those rather than waste the whole thing to get to the middle. But I always like to tell people that because it's very difficult to flint knap. So if you can imagine a Neanderthal doing it, like that's how smart they were. They weren't that unhuman,
Yeah. So
yeah,
they were basically just like another species of human. I mean, right?
Yeah. My line of thought is that they're like a subspecies of human.
Yeah.
So Homo sapiens sapiens, Homo sapiens neanderthalensis, and Homo sapiens denisovans. And they're just regionally varied versions of the same species.
Okay.
And people will argue that it's its own species and stuff, which you can get into the weeds with that too, because some Neanderthals, it seems like human and Neanderthal hybrids made mules that were sterile. So it was getting on like the very end of the speciation spectrum where it wouldn't work, but you still can do it. Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, wasn't it one way only? It was like Neanderthal males produced with a human female. That was the only way it would work, right? Or is it the opposite way?
Yes, the way you said it is the right way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the opposite way would result in the mule.
Yes.
You stop and think about that for a second. It's like, Carla, you got to stop seeing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's just so rough and rugged.
I have a stand-up joke. It's like what was like the dinner conversation like between the two? And you gotta like bring the Neanderthal home, and you're like, all right, my grandma, she's like from a different time. She's a little specious. Still thinks being a Homo sapiens a choice, but don't worry about it. And like just like keep adding to that. But yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to do like right here on the spot, but yeah.
You have like a whole set that's based on this kind of material though, right?
I'm trying to. I have a theater show in I think October, which is coming up, so I need to come up with something.
And where at?
Yeah, this will be in Laramie, Wyoming.
Okay.
Like not the biggest comedy scene, but it's funny. I'm out here for the summer, and I guess the fall now too. I get way more stage time at like little bars here than I do in Nashville because there's just so many people in line with the bucket pulls.
Mhm.
So it's kind of nice. I haven't gone back home because like I like that.
Yeah.
But I want to do a dog set. It's just hard to like teach history of dogs as stand up, but that would do well for my channel. And then I want to do one about the Columbian Exchange and yeah, so I'll make a set on that. But I might just do like the current jokes I have that are topical and political and dark.
So
Nice.
going back to the Aztecs really quick here, you
Yep.
were saying that they were very good at flint knapping because they had kind of like that division of labor and sort of thing. What other things were they like really, really good at, like that other people in the Americas weren't?
Expansionism.
Yeah.
Very, very good at that. I guess pyramid building, like they were good at that. If you want to go with the big stuff, but just their system, they had like a caste system and like their economy was crazy. The way they like formulated, they're called chinampas,
Mhm.
which are like floating corn platforms on that river or that lake, which just made corn grow so efficiently. They had education. There's like poetry written and stuff. It's just like it's a shame it's all gone in a way,
Yeah.
but it's just like it was a huge. I imagine it like in what 1510, if you were grown up in like some shit infested street in London, the craziest thing you could see is Mexico or Japan. Like it would just be so different. And Mexico by far, I would say, because it's just the plumage and the colors of all their clothing and just how big the city was apparently was like crazy. Yeah.
Weren't there upwards of 300,000, they say, living there at the time?
I would be lying if I said I could say yes or no to that, but I imagine it was huge.
Yeah. I actually because just like you, I have an obsession kind of with Mexico City. I lived there for I don't know, 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
And I was like horribly depressed at the fact that like I would never get to see like the whole in the center of the city, you know, they built that big church right on top of where the pyramid was. And you're just like, what? Like why would you do that? You know, like
yeah.
Have you been there?
I've never been to Mexico City.
Okay.
I've been all over the Pacific side of Mexico and I've been to Cancun, but I actually had an ex. I lived with her family for like a couple weeks in Nayarit is the state, but
Yeah.
got like a taste of real Mexico. That was cool.
Yeah. I love Mexico. I had my ex-wife used to accuse me of being a completely different person while I was in Mexico.
Huh.
She was like, "This is weird. You're like transformed here into like a different human."
Do you speak Spanish?
Sí, hablo español muy bien.
So there's like, que bueno. Like the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is like language shapes your reality.
Yeah.
And I have like read and like seen multiple times that like when you speak a different language or bilingual people, it's a completely different personality because the language is so different.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, I've heard you. I've heard you do some of your Spanish, and your Spanish ain't too shabby either, dude.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually got dinner with my high school Spanish teacher when I went home to Nashville. He
Uh-huh.
was just like, "I'm proud of you, dude. You want to get a beer?" It's like, "Sure." We just like, that was nice.
That's that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right now I'm busy studying away at French, and
respect.
German I've been doing for like years. Um, my thing with German is like this is just gonna take a long ass time.
Yeah,
So like I'm not in a big rush. I still like uh I am studying German on a daily basis, but it's like I'm also doing French, and French is so much easier because I already have the Spanish.
Spanish. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild, dude. Uh,
Yeah.
props. French is insane to me. Like I can read it a little better than I can't hear it whatsoever.
Yeah.
I
Um
learned quite a bit of Portuguese too with another partner.
oh
And
cool.
it's like the Burger King of Spanish.
Yes.
It's just like so difficult. But again, like if I'm reading it, I can follow along just fine. But
Okay.
yeah, it's just not Spanish to me. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's obviously
The
not Spanish, but
yeah, I actually have a lot of Instagram reels on my explore page and content that's in Portuguese. I have no idea why, but I can read it all, like for the most
nice.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can kind of be like, "Oh, I get what's going on here."
You know what's weird
Mhm.
about that? I'm pretty
But
sure Facebook thinks that I can speak fluent Spanish and I cannot.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but like the algorithm on Facebook thinks that I can speak fluent Spanish, and a lot of the reels that pop up are just like full on Spanish. Don't know what they're saying half the time, other than like a few keywords.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
Huh. Maybe it's like you like to post or it's your area or
I
something.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I get YouTube commercials in full on Spanish all the time.
Interesting.
Me too.
Yeah.
Um,
You do?
I
I
do.
don't think I have.
Nice.
I was
So
trying to think of a Spanish commercial in my head, but I couldn't.
yeah. So anyway though, what about like Aztec? Can you I I want to guess talk about like how the fact that they are like they were an empire and we've got this idea in our head. And I think I've talked to you this in messages before, but
Mhm.
like there's this idea that like white people came here and they were the only people that ever had like an empire. But you
Yeah.
have like two of the arguably like some of the biggest empires in the world were in the Americas. You had the Incans and the Aztecs, and the
Mhm.
Incans were even bigger and crazier. And like if you study them, you're like, oh my God, like they had like what 70,000 people armies sometimes.
Like way up in the mountains too. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, speak to that if you could, like enlighten us.
Yeah. I guess where to begin. Uh it's just like they had such a the Maya, the classical Maya had disappeared by the time the Spanish got there. And like all those city centers and the Maya were kind of like city states like Athens and Sparta
Mhm.
before they were like a massive empire together. But like Maya's like the culture and they kind of just dwindled away either from deforestation or whatever, like crops not working, and like there's still Quiche Maya still spoken everywhere down in the Yucatan, but they didn't just like disappear. But the Aztecs were like in the 1400s is like when they got huge. So like they were at their peak when the Spanish got there. And because of that, and they were like expansionist and taking captives from all these different tribes and taking lands, the Spanish were able to conquer them pretty well because they could uh, treat and like meet with other tribes around. And like, I think La Malinche is her name, his like translator, Cortez's. And they could like negotiate with all these other tribes and like got them to. So it wasn't like six Spaniards with like arbalesters shooting like I almost said Mexicans, but like Aztecs in the city. It was like thousands of indigenous people that also hated the Aztecs joined.
Mhm.
And because of that, once the Spanish took over and they had the big polytheistic system and like already a state level society, it was pretty, I guess, looking at it now, easy to combine that. It's called syncretism.
Mhm.
And that's why like a lot of the Aztec deities became like saints. It was just like easily, I say easily transferable. It was probably beaten into them by like friars, but it's like, yeah, it worked kind of thing. And like the Guadalupe is the Aztec, I want to say like corn deity or something like that, appeared to somebody like near Mother Mary. So they like combined that. I hope that answers your question. I just ranted, but
no, that's all good, man. What about dogs? Was there a deity for dogs?
Xolotl was the Aztec or Mexica dog god. And he was Quetzalcoatl's brother or like son or something like that. It all gets like muddled. But yeah, him and Quetzalcoatl go down. So there's like 4 iterations of people, and it was like made from mud, made from wood, and like they all failed. But the final one was like let's make them out of bones. So like Xolotl and Quetzalcoatl go down to the underworld and go get these bones to like come back and make people out of them. And that's when he set like all of those hurdles and challenges they had to go through, which is now the 9 lands of the dead. So like to get to the like you have to go through all these challenges to get to Mictlan is the land of the dead. So not a lot of people make it there apparently, but the first one's like it's like the land of dogs, and you like dogs help you swim across the river. Yeah. He's very similar to Anubis. It is weird, right?
It's weird that like all these different cultures have like Japanese culture, right? And the Misogis and the legend or story of the guy, I don't remember his name. I don't know. But anyway, goes into the underworld to retrieve his wife because he was too sad to live on the earth without her, and goes to bring her back and couldn't bring her back, but he makes it back alive and realizes like love is life. But the same thing, had to go into the underworld and like went through different levels of the underworld and everything. It's just weird that all these cultures have this same like understanding of certain things.
Yeah. I think I forget the Greek playwright guy, but there's a play just like that with Hercules, and like a guy convinces Hercules to go down and get his wife back, but she's dead before or something like that. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's I guess because when you bury people, like the underworld concept is like a thing. It was less so than like the Judeo-Christian like heavens, but also like the Maya and the Aztecs were like super good at astronomy, so they probably thought about the heavens as well. I don't know. It's very interesting, like going down there, and I guess it's bartering with death or something. That's or like the stages of grief or something. That's probably pretty.
Or they knew the levels. Yeah. They knew how to get there.
Yeah,
maybe they knew the right herbs to take.
Oh, like that. Yeah.
To get to that realm. I don't know.
Yeah, totally possible. I don't know if they did that in ancient Japan, but that would be so sick.
Yeah. So you've been going to your personal life here. You got any hunts planned?
I'm going marmot hunting with Donnie Dust in
marmot
a couple of weeks. Yeah, he just was like, "You want to go marmot hunting?" Said, yep. Sure. So we're just gonna go do that. I don't know if I'm gonna stay here all winter or go back to Nashville, but yeah, that's coming up. And then I think he's in the Amazon right now. He'll be back, and then just casual, like he was like, "Bro, I'm in the forest." Sorry, when I texted him last time. Yeah, I think that's the only hunt I have planned. I wanted to put in for elk this year, but I just didn't get around to it.
Is that for you since you're living there but you're not a resident?
Yeah, if the IRS listening, my residency is in Nashville. But I am out here most of the summer.
Okay.
And I live like with my friend, and I'm currently in like my studio is in his like spare room.
Ah,
nice.
Cool.
Yeah. So
and
that side of the camera is chaos, but over here is clean.
Nice, crisp and clean.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna eat marmots?
If I'm with him, probably. But I guess he just said you want to like try it, and he was telling me too, like he uses atlatls like kind of as a weapon itself, like to bludgeon them or to Like you can stick the hooked end into like a hole to pull something out. I don't know if Marmots go underground or not, but I know he's like all about that. So
Yeah.
It'd be cool. It'd be cool either way.
yeah.
Yeah, Donnie, by far, probably one of the most like interesting orators that we've ever had on our podcast.
You guys had him on too?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I thought so. Okay.
Yeah. And like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's just like, hey Donnie, here's a question and go. And he's just like, like,
He's so good at it.
Weaves a tapestry of words that you get lost in and just mesmerized by everything that's coming out. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. He's it's what's the word? Like he's on podcast. He's like on comedy podcasts all the time now. He'll like send me a picture of him and Bobby Kelly, and I was like, "Fuck off, dude." But yeah, he's just. I hate the phrase "gift of gab" because it just sounds goofy, but like he's got it.
Yeah.
And he's good at it, and I'm glad somebody out there teaches survival in like a non, like, pretentious or like super intricate way. He's just down to earth.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Yeah.
survival community was definitely lacking in something like that. It was always like that Dave Canterbury thing where you're like, what is this? Does this have 16 uses? I don't want to
that
have
name.
Yeah. He was dual
Yeah.
survival.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He used to
Yeah.
live right in this town, actually.
No way.
Oh,
The guy who went barefoot all the time, was that him?
No. That's Cody Lundeen.
yeah.
Cody
Cody
Dave-
Lundeen lived here.
Cody
Okay.
Lundeen was the guy that was always barefoot, the barefoot hippie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Dave Canterbury was the army guy, gotta survive and you need protein and
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember that now.
Donnie did a show like that too, though, with Ray Livingston, I think, to where it was like the two of them getting paired up in
he?
situations or whatever. But I don't know if it was I don't know if it was a full season or what it was, but I know there was at least one episode I
Yeah.
watched. Yeah.
With Ray Livingston.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's what you just said. You cut out instead. But yeah, he told me that like there was so much more like interesting things they said to the camp. I didn't watch it, but education lessons or like a lot of good banter between them that just got completely cut out because they wanted it to be like buddy comedy or something.
Yeah.
So
The wonderful world of television, right?
yeah, which I get, but he said it wasn't his favorite. But I was gonna bring him up before with flint napping. He's like my sensei with it, and he's like, you don't listen to all these old nappers. Like, I'll teach you how to do it. Okay, and I go to his house and we just hit rocks and antlers together. But his like when he teaches classes, he teaches you how to make a flake first, and that's all you need because you just need one cutting tool, and then when you need to make more, make another flake, and then you can get bogged down in the how do I like bifacially reduce it? How do I pressure flake and to make a perfect arrowhead? Like that'll come later, but in a survival situation, like just knowing how to crack one off and like knowing what kind of rock is like you're already 80% there kind of thing.
There's another dude. What? I can't think of his name. He lives in Florida, but he is insane with the stuff he does. He goes full on primitive all the time.
Hunt primitive. His name?
Yeah, that's it. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get Alex
Yeah.
or something. I can't remember, but
I can't remember his name.
yeah. But that dude is insane with some of the stuff he does and how fast he does it. Like, I mean, not even like editing. If you watch the full YouTube video, he'll take like 4 hours and he'll cure the wood over a fire and like start putting a bend in the bow and stuff he's making.
Wow.
It's like, whoa.
I've seen him like use atlatls on hogs, and that's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, they go right through.
He did it with the bison. I was surprised, like on the bison, how quick it took the bison down too. It's insane.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess
one
if
of my
you got
friends help with that.
a giant, a giant point just sticking through them, you know.
Yeah, I mean, this thing's like as big as my hand, really. So,
Yeah.
like, if you got that in like a rib cage, like it multiple in your rib cage, you'd bleed out quick, I'd imagine.
Can I ask you a question? Do you know, David, if there were atlatls in Europe and Asia, or because I know for a fact that they were present in Australia,
Mm-hmm.
but
They're called like woomera, is what they're called
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did my thesis on atlatls and like bows, but the atlatls are like the most ubiquitous hunting tool around the world. Every continent had them.
Okay.
And the bow didn't get introduced or like invented in the Americas till like 1,000 years ago. And you can see that with like the point sizes archaeologically.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason behind that is possibly like they had it in Asia and Siberia, but when you're getting up across the Arctic, having a bowstring is like prone to snapping, and all you really need is spears or clubs for seals if that's what they were eating. So they just forgot the bow technology, but I like to think they had it too. They just didn't. 1,000 years ago is like when corn gets introduced everywhere, so there's a lot more need for multiple defensive arrows on your back than just hunting tools. That's my theory. But for atlatls, yeah, oldest ones like in Africa, 70,000 years ago. And there's a couple in Europe in like bogs, and they're in Australia. But to me too, like you don't have to have a stone point on the end of an atlatl. It helps, but it's just a stick with another stick. So looking at that or finding that archaeologically is extremely difficult. So it's probably way older than 70,000. But to be safe, yes, at least 70,000.
My biggest question with this whole thing is why in the name of God would they switch to a bow if by all accounts the atlatl is like just as good or even better?
I think for like it's faster against like humans running at you, if anything.
Not
and like
to mention, you could carry a lot more. I mean, with an atlatl, what are you going to carry? Maybe 3 extra.
Yeah.
You know, what do you call it? I don't know what it's not an arrow,
A
but
dart.
Yeah. So you carry maybe 3 darts with you that are 6 foot long, or do you carry like a dozen arrows with you in a quiver on your back?
That'd be my answer too, Luke. Like, yeah, that's
how I would see it. Efficiency.
Yeah, and just carrying and stuff. Yeah.
If you're getting like down in the weeds of like killing animals, though, you can shoot things from way farther away. I know that like people who practice all the time nowadays. I mean, I've seen some spectacularly efficient guys with the atlatl.
Yeah,
like hitting a dinner plate from like 100 yards.
But I mean,
and
technically, you could do that with a bow too, like with just a regular longbow. Like you could still hit 100
But
yards.
would it have the same force? Because you have
No,
that 6
not.
foot thing, and there's all the what is that called? That bounce in the arrow that gives it
the spline.
Yeah.
But so your spine isn't what I mean. It's your mass that's carrying it. So yes, the one's going to have more energy. It's going to lose less. Well, actually, no, because there would be a trade-off at some point, like the energy versus whatever, because the distance travel arc, all that stuff. But the one thing I could say is, when you got a sharp rock on the end of it and it hits something and goes into it, it's still going to make it bleed. And it doesn't matter where you hit an animal, as long as it's somewhat terminal within that body cavity. Even if it's in a gut, it's still going to go down. You're just going to wait about 8 hours and then go track it, and it's probably going to be bedded in the same spot in which it was. So if you've got time to kill, now you can sit down, nap a few arrowheads, and eat something that you've got in your pocket, right? And then go get that animal.
You got that mapped out.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's because you're right. You can totally hit something at the same distance, if not more efficiently, with an arrow. But back in the day, like if it was your way of life, like I'm sure everybody was deadly with an atlatl. But a PhD dissertation here at the school in Wyoming was she like interviewed people at like the World Atlatl Association, people in Australia, people all over, about how they use atlatls and like their gender and their age and stuff. And with a bunch of like math and statistics, she found that it is easier to pick up an atlatl and use it first because you're just throwing something, but it's harder to master. But a bow with the coordination is harder to pick up, but once you've picked it up, you're way more efficient with it than you are with an atlatl. And that was like her dissertation essentially, and that might play a role too, because if there's 6 of you with atlatls sneaking up on a bison, yeah, you'll take it out too, but I think anybody could more. I don't know. Could all use bows. or you can throw more into it but I've never hunted big game, so I don't know like how many arrows get lobbed into it, more than one.
Normally, I
Yeah.
only lob one, and
Yeah,
within that
ideally.
one lob, sometimes things get in the way, or I cant my body or the bow in in an awkward position where I'm trying to bend over a limb or under a limb. Whatever happens, your shot placement gets a little bit off from what you think it is. And I've often hit a deer further forward than I would like or further back. I always try and just aim for the lungs. I don't need, a lot of people try and they're like, oh, you got to take a heart shot. Well, now you're putting yourself on the deer's body in a little area that's this big, right behind the shoulder, and if they're standing, depending on how they're standing, that scapula is there. So now you've got the potential of hitting that scapula or completely missing or wounding the animal because you went too low, and now there's, you didn't hit anything other than superficial stuff. So, I mean, yeah, so that now you don't have to worry about that. Or you could just aim for the lungs to where if you pierce one of them, both of them, if you're too far back, now what are you going to hit? You're going to hit liver. If you don't hit the liver, you're going to hit the intestines, and it's going to die anyway. And most of the time, I found that when you hit the intestines, for some reason, animals go to water. I don't know if they put themselves in the water to try and cool themselves, or if it's like a comfort thirst thing, safety, because they could put their back up against the creek bed. But they often go to water. And so if you've got sign of a gut shot, then chances are you could trail to water. I've done that. I've shot 4 times, 5 times, and every single time they've been near water.
Huh. Do you notice that they're drinking it, or they're just?
I mean, when I find them, they're dead, but I give them ample time. The best thing anybody could ever do is practice patience and back away. You're still going to trail it. The only time you would worry as a human, if you didn't have a canine companion to track it for you, which they don't need the blood, they can actually track it through the scent and the interdigital and everything from the scent glands of the deer's hoof. And they can identify that one deer amongst 20 other deer because that's the one that was injured and put out certain, hormones and chemicals produced in their body, and it comes out their scent gland, and they'll follow that track.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. But
that is really cool.
Yeah. Not having a dog, you worry about the sign. As long as it's not raining, you don't push them. You're going to find your animal. It just takes
and you don't
time.
want to push them because that will build up all that acid or something?
Well, so if you push them, they're going to get up and travel further and further away. They get that boost of adrenaline because they know they're still being pursued versus like, hey, I'm injured. I'm going to lay down. And then I'll just, stay safe. And then they end up dying in the bed they laid in. Now, that's not ideal, but I mean, realistically, it happens in a hunting scenario. I'm sure it happened a lot, thousands of years ago, and it happens now. But I've also had really good shots to where you double lung them because you were aiming at the lungs, and then you watch them fall within your sight, and that's ideal. But
it's wild.
Yeah.
Super cool. All of the mammoth kills or scavenger sites that are like pretty intensively excavated are all on rivers. And I assume they're like pushing the mammoth to the river and it gets stuck, or it was already stuck and they came and took it out or something. But a lot of them are.
I could see that
right on the river,
especially with like spears. I mean, how convenient would it be to just, or even push them to the river? Just chase them, running after them. They go to the river, get stuck in the bank or something. That'd be an ideal situation.
Yeah, I just don't know how you would all drag it out and then butcher it, or I guess you'd
probably
cut it up
wouldn't.
Right there on the banks of the river.
I mean, if it was me, I'd start on top, make an incision, take out those big old back straps first, and then now that I've got that rib cage, like the spine and the rib cage exposed, I'd come around the quarters and start disassembling from the quarters. Yeah,
you've got that planned out too.
I do.
So when they finally clone mammoths, like I always joke, like how soon until people are like putting in the lottery to like to hunt one? Because dude, I love elephants. I think they're so intelligent, and I get sad when people like shoot them. But I would spear a mammoth, no question.
So I don't think I would ever want to kill an African elephant or an Indian elephant.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had the opportunity to spear a mammoth, I'm all over it. It's not the same to
man.
me because it's something that's never existed within my lifetime. And the only way I know it of was, early humans hunting them. So in my mind, it's totally cool.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Do you think that they had the same kind of, I mean, obviously they didn't, but do you think that there was ever like some of the tribe that was kind of like, oh no, I don't want to kill the mammoths. And then they were like, we have to eat.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I mean, there's also evidence that they killed them in excess too, to where they only took certain parts that they wanted. It wasn't like, they were killing them, how everybody's like, oh, they utilized every part of them. They didn't. They really didn't. And even the natives that were here in the United States and North America, same thing with the bison. They didn't always utilize them. There's so much evidence of them just, killing them and taking the hump or a hind quarter or two, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But they were still plentiful within the landscape at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get comments like that a lot. It's like, well, it's like my grandmother was whatever nation, and like she told me like natives used all of the animal, like they didn't leave it. And I'm like, I've worked with indigenous archaeologists where we like excavated fully butchered bison. Like there wouldn't be anything left if they used all of it.
Right. Yeah.
So like that's right. I mean, I guess the bones would still be there, but as for mammoths, I've been writing a post on this actually because I want to like make it like a video one. Like it was as in tune as people are now with nature when you're super into nature and animals, and like I respect the shit out of hunters for like how they know animal behavior. But like back then, surely they understood how intelligent mammoths were. Like they could have watched how like they all, I assume they're just like elephants. They have a matriarchy. They have if the bull goes off, there's the carrying. They all have languages. The elephants have names. I think a study came out.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we can go into that too. It's pretty fascinating. But they probably knew it, how smart they were, and I wonder if it was something like, shit, we got to kill one because we don't have any food, or like we need the tools, or it was like some kind of, they built up a belief system that was like, we choose one a year that we take out, or they just were ruthless and didn't care. I have no idea. That's the fun part of archaeology.
Here's how I see it.
Yeah.
In my head, hey, I've got a cat at home, right? I don't, but I've got a cat at home, but I'm still going to go chase these wild cats that I haven't domesticated yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to kill them because I want to eat them and they're wild. But my cat is still my personal cat. Or same thing with the elephants or mastodons, whatever, mammoths. But like, maybe they did domesticate some and they used them for tools and like lifting heavy things and all kinds of stuff. Who knows? Like,
yeah,
it could have happened and we just haven't put two and two together on that yet. I wouldn't rule it out for sure.
they were like riding them.
Why not? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
Someone tried.
You can't tell me it wasn't until like maybe 14 or 1500 or something. Somebody was like, "Oh, I'm going to ride an elephant." Like,
Yeah.
had to have.
Part of when I was writing this thing was like looking up like elephant behavior and stuff, and like there's some bull elephants that like on those safari rides that like will come chase the car down and like knock it over, and they come and trample villages and stuff I've seen. But I don't know how much of that is like to do with humans, like civilization encroaching on their territory and they're pissed about it. So like maybe a campsite of like 8 tents, like a mammoth, I don't think would come through and just stomp, but maybe it did, and that's why they were like, "Oh, we got to take it out. It's a problem mammoth or something."
What is a female elephant called? Is it a cow or a...
If it's a bull for the males, I guess cow.
Yeah. So like maybe the bulls are just ticked off because all their cows got killed or something, and now they're rutting and ready to go and got nowhere to go. So all that testosterone's built up and they're just stomping towns.
Maybe. It's the kind of stuff like if they clone them, I want to do all those like studies on it. Like how do they react to dogs? How do they react to atlatls versus bows?
So they have been born, right? Like the woolly mammoths have been born now, right? Like that's happened, or is it coming?
I don't think it's happened yet.
Are we sure?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What's the name of that company that did that? Like, because I saw
InGen.
Yeah, I saw InGen has plans to bring back like the dodo bird and some other ones as well. Like they have a whole entire
InGen's the one
list.
from Jurassic Park. I was just joking.
Oh, well, whatever the company. There probably is something like that though. Now I got to look it up.
Sure. I know what you're talking about though, because when we were digging up that mammoth 2 years ago, the guy that came up with Ethereum, like the Bitcoin thing, was there, and he wanted to he was talking to the archaeologists about he's into cloning it. So if you're like a billionaire, if I was bored, I would probably want to do that too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but there's gonna be what
pet projects,
like 8 of them or something, or 6 of them.
Yeah, and they'll be half Asian elephant too. So, or I think it starts as like a quarter mammoth, then half mammoth, and then full once it's 3 generations or so. But they'll be I guess they're taking a mammoth DNA. I'm not sure. Genetics is past me at this point, but it would start off as more Asian elephant, and then you'd breed more mammoths into it because you'd have to have multiple populations to make them not inbred.
Hey everyone, this is Captain Steve Roger from Into the Blue TV. And as soon as I feel a little break from this heat, I know that hunting season's upon us. Actually, the first time I ever went hunting, a buddy took me. Wasn't my father or my grandfather. In fact, I took my father on his very first hunt. Well, Academy Sports and Outdoor Stores has everything to gear up for the field for less. Plus, you can shop a wide selection of ammo, shotguns, deer corn, rifle, feeder, game cameras, camo, and more from the brands you trust. Text Hunt 24 to 22369 to take $20 off a $100 purchase when you shop hunting supplies at academy.com. Need a hunting license? Pick it up in store while you're shopping.
Midway USA brand product designers have one straightforward goal: develop high-quality, technically sound products and deliver them to customers at reasonable prices. If you are immersed in the shooting sports industry and pay close attention to every single detail, you know our products are built right and stand up to everyday use. Who has shooting mats and range bag systems to hunting clothing and just about everything for the outdoors? Log on and shop 24/7 with super fast shipping. MidwayUSA.com.
A lot of work, and I'll leave that to the other nerds. But,
yeah. But yeah, so they've got plans. Whoever, not InGen, not Jurassic Park, but whatever.
Raytheon.
Yeah.
No, they've probably
Something.
already got clones of a lot of other things. Weird
Yeah.
stuff like you'd see on The Simpsons or something.
What's the company in Terminator? That's what I was trying to think of.
Skynet?
Ooh,
Skynet.
Skynet.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just Tesla. makes them.
Yeah.
Um,
Tesla, Skynet, same. Have you seen the
I just
robots
wanted
that
to make
they've
them
got?
The Tesla robot?
Yeah.
I didn't. I remember the one that walks.
Not only walks, they gave it a firearm the other day, and
That's right. I did
and
see
it
that.
ran a drill with a firearm. Yeah, it's
We're done.
pretty much. I mean, maybe Elon Musk for some reason has never seen Terminator, but it's playing out right now because of him.
Yeah.
Where's John Connor when we need him?
He's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, he could just be chilling somewhere.
So, David, I got a question for you about my insane dog.
Oh, time travel.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, my dog is he's 1 now, but he's still just as crackheady and meth heady as he has always been. And do you think that he'll ever chill out? You're the dog guy.
Mm,
He
I always
just-
preface this: I'm not a vet or a behaviorist, but I can give advice. What were you saying? Sorry.
So it's just he is a mountain feist. He's a squirrel dog. I knew going into it, I was like, okay, high energy dog. I'm a high energy human. I can handle this. But he has no off button.
Mhm.
He does not chill. I brought him to a job site that I was working on last week, and I was like, look at him. He was on a leash the whole day, standing.
That's crazy.
He does not lay down. I think after 6 hours, he finally was like, all right, maybe I'll sit here for a minute. And he like finally like,
Yeah. His feet
but-
were numb.
yeah, but he just stands and he just like, I got to do something. And I'm just like, how do I get this crackhead to like calm down or like
Neuter
do
him.
something like, yeah,
Neuter
neuter
him.
him. Yeah.
Drop
I
his
guess.
T levels.
Yeah, but that's, I don't know, man. Like I associate that too much with like I'm like, oh, I wouldn't want to do that to me. I have balls. I'm like, I don't want to do that to my dog.
You could be the guy from Game of Thrones, though. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
The bald guy. Varys. Yeah, dude, like all those. I mean, I castrated my dog. I didn't personally do it to my dog, or neutered him, but he's still crazy, and he's 9, and it hasn't. I don't think it made any difference. But yeah, all those working dogs, especially like hunting or like dogs that he's a squirrel hunting dog.
Yeah.
Like they have to have a job, they have to be doing something,
Yeah.
or they're just neurotic. And I was always told like there's the terrible twos, and that's like when the dog's super defiant and it will not listen, it does what it wants. And my dog definitely had that. And once we got to 3 or 4, he calmed down a lot, but he's still like, if he doesn't have a job or like a task to do, he's just like right now he's chewing on an antler. That's his task. He hasn't bothered me yet, but yeah, it's just like they have to be mentally exhausted from working before they're like physically exhausted. I've noticed.
So what do you do then to like say you can't like I can't do anything, right? Like I can't take him out and walk him for 5 miles. Like
right.
What do you do?
Some days you just don't want to. Yeah.
Yeah.
My dog has a lot of behavior issues now because I think when I lived in Georgia for 4 years, he just was in the house all day by himself in the air conditioning, and he would go outside and sniff up and down the fence. And that was like his life for like until I came home at 4:30 and he was like, let's play fetch. And I like played fetch for like 10 minutes and I was like, all right, I'm done. And like that was his excitement for the day. And I just felt terrible. But the more that compounds, the more his behavior is bad. So we got another trainer. And then I started walking him every night, started jogging with him sometimes. I gave up on that probably a month later. Yeah. And that's when he was like doing okay. But now he's just like neurotic and like reactive to everything. Like he was trying to chase a bird that flew across the sky. Like I've never seen him do that. He's just getting old and senile. But
Good
to
for
answer your
him.
question, yeah.
Good for him.
Just have him work or do something. I use the flirt pole.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know what that is, but I
Nope.
use it for like it's like a PVC pole with a little dangly
It's
toy
like
at the
teasing
end.
cats with the stick. Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
And my dog loves that. Like he loves to chase children on bikes. I've noticed that. But like I've been playing with that with him in the front yard, and a children on a bike doesn't interest him or a child on a bike because he has that toy. So that mentally tires him out because he's chasing something, he's getting the physical activity. All that to say, I'm probably not the best person to ask, but mentally drain your dog is what I would do.
I've got an
Yeah.
idea, Clay.
Take him out to the back.
Carry
No.
some pockets pockets
I'm
full of
about to.
chipmunks. And then randomly every once in a while take a chipmunk out in front of him and throw it in front of him and let him chase it.
Oh my God. He
That'll work.
he's still kind of at the age like where I know like he's caught a couple animals, but he's still kind of like at that point where like I've seen him, there's a squirrel 5 feet away, and he just like has a what's that called? Analysis paralysis. He's like, what do I do? Like I've like watched him where he like starts to chase it, but he's like too slow on the get. And I'm like, I've watched videos of feists that are 5 feet away, and they're just like, rah, and they just like rip it to shreds,
Wow.
But he's
Look
only
that
one.
up.
I've heard that dogs really don't hit their stride with the hunting stuff until they're like 2 years old.
This kind of dog? Sorry.
Uh
A feist?
So yeah, I mean feists are bred for their not for their looks. They're only bred for ability, so a lot of them look really different. I could send you a picture of my dog later.
Okay.
But yeah, my dog is a small dog, long legs, very fast. He's like consistently, I take him to the dog park pretty often. He's like one of the fastest dogs at the dog park now.
That's fun.
He is he needs exercise and he needs something to do. And the other problem I have is I'll buy him these like things that are supposed to like keep your dog busy for hours. It's like this thing. It's like put treats in it. And,
like the little block thing. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And then the dude figures them out in like 5 minutes and he's like, what's next?
Yeah.
And I'm like, great. I just spent $20 on a new toy for him to figure out and then it's just completely useless.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. Like, I think my dog would benefit most from being on a farm where he could protect whatever's there and just sniff all day. Cause like he loves this. That's all he does.
Yeah.
In something like that. But we all can't realistically just, do that.
Yeah.
So it's about like finding ways to work around their behaviors and idiosyncrasies, but also like providing enough stimulation to like, would be the word, not accompany, to complement their, temperaments and stuff. Yeah.
But how do you not go, like, do you ever, you seem very like calm and collected, but do you ever get mad at your, my dog will just be like staring at, like, I will feed him and then it's like he's got like amnesia. Like he's like, what? I never ate in my life. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like I will feed him a whole bowl of food, which is like more than is recommended, plus an egg. And then like I'm in the kitchen. I don't allow him in my kitchen. So he stands at the border of the kitchen.
Wow.
And he'll just look at me and he's just like,
I have the opposite problem, but that's crazy, dude. I've never seen that.
Yeah, he's like obsessed with food. Like he's like I said, it's like he's got like dog amnesia.
He's just bored. He's bored, so he's eating. Kind of like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, except for his metabolism is so fast that I like everybody's always like, you got to feed your dog more food. I'm like, dude, I don't know what else I could give this dog. He eats more than the like my mom has a golden retriever, 150-pound dog, huge.
That's a giant dog.
Or he's like yellow lab. I don't know what he is, but he's like almost 150 pounds. Comes from a huge giant breed. They each eat the same amount of food. My 30-pound dog and him.
That's crazy. Man.
Does he do it all in one session, or does he
No, he eats it like I give him.
Paces himself throughout the day.
Yeah, he paces through the day.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, but man, he burns it off though so fast. He's actually right now. I needed a break. He's at my mom's playing with him. They're having like a sleepover for like a few days, and
cool.
My mom said that her dog just crashes and just like, I can't do this anymore. And then my dog's just like until like 10 p.m. just like, I want to play.
Yeah. That's crazy, dude. My roommate's got a border collie, and he's like a very sweet, well-behaved dog, but he just constantly wants to fetch. Like whatever he does, he grabs a ball, spits it at you, wants you to play it, and then he'll sit there and like turn his head, and he will not stop, and he'll play fetch all day until he like passes out. And it's just like he needs a job, and fetch is his like job. I taught Strider search, and I'll like hide a treat in a room and like have him smell it, and then like put it somewhere pretty precarious, so he has to like search each room, and that definitely kept him occupied. But sometimes he finds it within like a minute, and you gotta redo it. But,
yeah, I know. And yeah, squirrel season is September 15th here in Michigan, so right around the corner, and I'm gonna be taking him out on opening day. Just like, have at it, buddy.
There you go.
Yeah, he definitely does like 100%. Like you're right. Like during the squirrel season, he's a different dog. He's like, oh my God, I've got a purpose in life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
Must be cool to see too. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll like sometimes start running out in front of us, doing like kind of scanning. He's like going back and forth and doing these big loops,
Yeah.
and then he like finds something and he just bolts, you know?
Right.
And
That's cool.
yeah, then he just starts barking like absolute insanity. Like his bark is so loud. And I don't know if it's like I don't know how they did it, but he's like, for a little dog, they packed a really big bark in there. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if they like did that like on purpose, because he'll often run like 100 yards away.
I don't know what it's called, but I know beagles specifically have like their like larynx gyrates a certain way that makes it such a loud, deep call.
Yeah.
Because like beagles can get annoying when
Yeah.
they're barking. It's just a piercing, crazy sound. Especially when they find something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like last year I was hunting in the last weekend of squirrel season, and there was a guy in the same area of woods that was hunting with a pack of beagles. And
Okay.
the whole time, I mean, you're talking like, you know,
Brr, brr, like in the back.
hour
Yeah.
and a half, 2 hours. I just like could hear from like many hundreds of yards away. Like I could hear these dogs just going the whole time.
Yeah.
And
Huh.
I was like, wow. You know, my dog is actually a very quiet dog unless he's on some animal.
Okay.
You
So
know,
you can turn it on and off.
yeah, I mean, he will he's a very vocal dog, so like he definitely is expressive. Like if he's bored, he'll sit in his crate, you know, I'll be sitting there like watching a show at night or something, and
Mhm.
he walks into his crate, and then he'll go like
Mhm.
he's like,
The
this
dog
is,
moan.
yeah, he's like, this
Yeah.
is boring.
Mine didn't do that until he was at my parents' house for a year, and my mom definitely does that. And she like sits down to like moan, and then he started doing it, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I guess to get my attention.
Yeah. So Luke, do you feel left out of this conversation?
No, just taking it
Just-
all in.
Do
Yeah.
you don't have a dog?
I don't have a dog. I haven't had a
Just gonna ask
dog
you.
since
Okay.
I was like 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It
Well,
was my childhood dog who, when they brought me home from the hospital, would sit in front of my crib and not let anybody in except for like my mom and my dad into the room. It actually like attacked people.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And then also when I started, like if I would cry or something, he would start barking and run and go get my mom. And then later on in life, he actually learned to open round doorknobs, like on doors. He would open the doors to get in a room, so you couldn't leave him out. Like if I closed the door, he'd open the door and come in.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's extremely smart.
Yeah, he was a good dog. He was a mutt, but he was like a black lab, German Shepherd, something mix. Yeah.
Mutts
Sounds
seem
loyal.
to be smarter. Why is that?
Less inbreeding.
Yeah, probably that.
I mean,
That would be my first answer too.
the
Yes,
purer
and I
you
guess
make
they
the
just get the-
genetics, the more the family tree starts to look like a wreath instead of a tree. So,
Targaryens. Yeah.
What were you gonna say, David?
I think I was just gonna say like agree with that. Yeah, I think it's just genetics, and then you get best of both breeds. But also like in my dog, you get the best of both breeds. Like he looks like a German Shepherd, but has like elk-hound fur.
Mm-hmm.
But he has like the neuroticism of both, and is just extremely mouthy. And yeah, it's always a catch-22, I guess. And like we had a Beagle Cocker Spaniel mix when I was a kid, or Brittany Spaniel. I think it was Brittany Spaniel, and extremely loud like a beagle, but she looked like a spaniel. It was kind of cool.
Huh.
He was a little fatty.
But like into hunting things?
No, we lived in basically New York City, so it was like difficult to. We had a big yard, I mean, we live in Long Island, but she would just run up to the neighbors' dogs and bark every morning. That was like her routine.
So that's where you're from? We've never asked you this.
I'm originally from Long Island. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I moved to Nashville when I was in 8th grade. It was
Okay.
different.
That's different.
Yeah.
What's Nashville like now compared to how it was when you were a kid?
Nashville I love it. It's huge. It's just so hot. But it's grown so much, and there's like the strip on Broadway is like the main tourist attraction, and like I think an equal amount of bachelorette parties like happen there than also in Vegas because it's just cheaper and you get into less mischief. The Hawk Tuah girl. I don't know if you guys are familiar with
Haley
that name.
Welch. Yep.
No, never
Welch.
heard of her.
Come on.
Never heard of her. She's used her fame very wisely. I respect it. But that was right on the strip in Nashville where they were interviewing her.
Oh my God.
And there's just like there's comedy scene there now. There's like music everywhere. And the crazy thing about Nashville too is like every musician you see playing at like a bar is equally as good as like, you know, and someone in the Chili Peppers or Aerosmith. They just haven't been signed or had like the break yet. So the music's always just awesome.
The artists in Nashville, they don't get paid, right? Like that's all just to get discovered.
I know there's like tip jars and stuff.
Yeah,
like
but
when they're playing
I
those
heard they
bars.
don't get paid. Like a lot of them don't get paid unless it's like a big venue to where it's actually like they're bringing them in. But most of the bars, same thing in like Austin, all these bars that have like bands every night and all that stuff, like they sign up just to get there and play so
Like
that
an
they
open
can
mic
get
kinda.
discovered. Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or false, but if that is, that's really interesting, and that would make a lot of sense because it's always like a rotating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
that's
if
what I was
to
told.
play on this strip in Nashville, it's probably like kind of an honor if you're, you know, trying to be discovered.
I just want to get discovered and kick the lights out at the Opry and get kicked off the state, banned from the Opry. That's my goal.
I've never been. I was supposed to see Louis C.K. there, and I overslept.
Oh no.
$200 ticket, and I was like, no. I was super sick, so I just like passed out and I missed it.
Dang.
Yeah, I love Nashville. The food's insanely good. It's like super multicultural now. Like there's like a little, you know, Hispanic area, an Arab area, like kind of like New York. Pretty cool. And then
Wow.
Long Island's just a giant like sandbar full of trash, but I love it and it's home. Like especially when I go to New York City, because I was like there all the time. Like those smells, like smells always trigger memories pretty good. And like, okay, this is home. Like I remember this smell and that smell.
City
Whereas
smells
Tennessee's like,
don't do it for me too much.
yeah.
I mean,
like
I
a
didn't
good-
grow up with that, but like I go
Oh,
to
okay.
cities and get certain smells, and I'm like, oh, what is that?
Gross.
Is that fecal matter? Is that
The best is
Especially
when
in
you're walking
Chicago.
over the bodega basement doors, like on the street, and you just get this big waft of disgusting deli air. I don't know what it is, but
Disgusting deli air.
when it first hits, I'm like, oh, I remember that. And then the second time you walk through it, you're like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have never been to New York City or Long Island or any of that, but as far as smells go, like nostalgia smells for me are like blueberry barrens, like white pine, red pine, like basically Upper Peninsula, Northern Michigan kind of stuff. Like if the sun hits like pine
Natural
trees.
good smells.
Yeah. And those are like for sure like bring me back to childhood. Like I'll
Mhm.
smell that and I'll be like, oh, you know, it's like the Lake Superior is nearby. You know, there's like all this it's just
Yeah.
like smells so like distinct, like those combinations of
I
smells.
bet it probably triggers because even when I'm out here and I smell like certain kinds of pine or like that distinct, it's not sage, but it's that big sage grass that grows all out west. It just smells so good and like distinct.
You're talking
Um,
like was it cowboy cologne or whatever? It's like Artemisia.
I don't know if that's the name, but it's like kind of looks like sage, but grows on like a little vine or like it sprouts out of the ground. I'm not describing this well.
Is it the sage brush or no?
I think it's sagebrush.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sagebrush. Yeah, that's got the joking name of cowboy cologne out west.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
that's
Smells
probably
amazing.
what it is. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I bought like a bundle of sage at a flea market in Georgia, thinking it was the same sage because I wanted my house to smell like it, and it was not the same smell. I guess it's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
It smelled gross.
For me, the smells are definitely black walnut, this fragrant smell of black walnuts, and atrazine, and Roundup, and
Roundup will do it.
good old cornfields being sprayed.
You walk through the Home Depot and you're like, childhood.
Childhood.
Yeah. Home Depot's a distinct smell too. I do remember that.
Yeah.
Like every time you go in there, you're like, this is Home Depot.
Here's the real question. Does the theme song play in your head when every time you walk in?
Actually.
Oh, really? Me, it does.
Huh. Now it probably will. I never thought about that.
Yeah, I think I've already told you, Luke, but whenever I see Menards, like
yeah.
No. No, not that. I wish it was that. I automatically just think like I don like a pirate voice in my head and I go, ouch, Menards.
Oh jeez. Wow.
It's just like that's immediately what my head does. And I'm like, damn it, stop it, 12-year-old inside of me.
So
I'd never seen a Menards till I moved out here, and my boss immediately made that joke.
It's a Wisconsin.
Like,
yeah. I mean, that's where it started, is in Wisconsin. Yep. Old Johnny Maynard. But I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
What's the worst wild food that you've ever eaten?
Me?
Yep. Maybe you haven't eaten as many wild foods as others, but maybe you have.
This is a question we ask every guest now for like the last 7 months or so.
I know I've had to have eaten something. I just can't recall it at the moment. I know I've eaten like wild onions, and they just taste like very bland scallions, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes they're like super pungent.
It doesn't have to be a plant or mushroom. It could be meat too.
Anything.
Yeah, any wild food.
There could be something that somebody else prepared that was wild food, and you're like, "Oh, this is terrible."
I had pronghorn. That was good, but it wasn't bad. I don't know. Oh, choke cherries. That was like my friend's Arapaho, and he was like telling me like the story behind it, and he was like, "Eat it." And I don't think I'm allergic to them, but it definitely affected me like way more than everyone else on my crew. And I was like, I'm good to not eat these again.
Your whole mouth just dried up.
Yeah, like my throat, like I thought it was closing, and it was just like, I know it was just like whatever chemicals are in the thing. Like I was fine, but I was just like, I'm good. Like on the next one. I think I know I've eaten something more exotic, but
well,
yeah.
You're about to eat marmot, probably.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
Try that.
Let me know how the marmot is.
Apparently, you got to cook them really thoroughly, but yeah.
Why are they?
I will let you know.
Are they like the kind of animal that's going to carry like black plague, like you know how prairie dogs do?
I think they have tularemia out here, like another rabbits do. But
yeah,
I mean, just cook it good, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like a dweeb that I couldn't come up with something better than choke cherry. I know I've eaten something crazy.
Next time, you'll have something.
Okay. Yeah. Marmot diarrhea.
And if you come hang out with me, I'll purposely feed you a bunch of gross stuff just so you could talk about it next time. I'll be like, hey, check this out. Oh, yeah, this. And then be like, yeah, you can eat it.
You're in Ohio, right?
I'm in Illinois, yeah.
Illinois. Yep. Okay. Somewhere up there. And then you're in Michigan?
He's in the top of the mitten.
Yeah, okay. I live in the pinky of the mitten. All of us Michiganders, you know, you just point on your hand where you live.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Detroit.
That's D. That's the big D right there.
There's Detroit. This is the thumb.
How do people feel about living on like the other part?
The Upper Peninsula. They'll do like, oh, you know, like kind of like.
I mean, here's my question: how has Wisconsin never said, "I don't think so. That's ours"?
I have met Wisconsinites or Wisconsinanders. I don't whatever you want to call them. I have met Wisconsin people, and they have tried to do this. They're like, yeah, we have the Green Bay, I'm like, they're, and I'm like, that's ours, buddy.
No. I would have said, listen, fella, this land is my land.
I think when World War III pops off in the next 10 years, like the first move will be all the Wisconsinites just slowly taking back the peninsula.
Absolutely.
Rushed under the rug.
The only thing I'd be worried about, though, is Florida man.
Florida
man is the wild card in the whole mix. Like, Texas is predictable. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're sectoring off for Hunger Games, Florida man's the wild card that's going to scare me.
So I've thought about this extensively. I feel bad for any Russian, Chinese, North Korean, or any poor 18-year-old soldier that has to storm America. Because no matter where you go, I mean, maybe California, you'll have a little bit less resistance for a bit. But I think California has tons of guns, though, too, like per capita.
They do. Yeah, it's just capacity limits and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But the southern coastal plain from like Texas all the way up to North Carolina, I guess, is just flat land that you could storm the beaches on, but you have to deal with all of Florida. And then like you have the Florida man, you have like all those kind of things. But then you also have like gangsters in Miami.
Yeah.
And then you got to get through Appalachia once you get there. And
you ain't
God help that poor Russian kid. Like he's not coming out.
You're not making it.
Yeah.
Well, then all the Cubans in Miami, I mean, that's like one of the most conservative places in the country. A lot of people don't realize that, but like those, all those Cubans came from refugees fleeing from Castro.
Yeah. I learned that pretty recently, and I was like, huh, I've been lied to for years. But
yeah.
But yeah, just talking to friends. Like we don't have to get into politics, but
no.
It's like,
They
Mexican friends too.
Yeah, but they so like not to get too dire here, but what do you think? Because like I'm actually I don't want to talk like actual politics, but
about
you said
World War. Is that what we're talking about?
World War. So like, I mean, we're looking at a really like crazy election coming our way.
I don't think it is. I don't think it's as crazy as we think.
I think so. I mean, I personally believe that like either half is not going to accept whoever wins. And then like I just worry about like we're at all these markers for like where society collapses.
Yeah. I mean, Trump's like pretty down in the polls. Like it's a pretty staunch gap at this. I mean, it's like close.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he could like do they all had all the illegals vote or something like that now.
Yeah.
Because it would be a little too obvious that it was just people voted for her. But
Illinois actually passed to where you can vote if you are an illegal. You can vote if you're an illegal. And they actually changed the laws for police officers. So now you don't even have to be a U.S. citizen in order to become an officer of the law.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess they're really down on numbers.
But
in terms of like World War III, you're asking, or
I'm just kind of that and Civil War and all this stuff.
Here's what I see. If it really something does go down, we're going to be infighting and too busy not paying attention, and then you're going to have somebody like China just launch a bunch of EMPs over us. I mean, like look at the balloon, right? The weather balloon. Like, how inconspicuous. Oh, yeah, nothing to see here. And it took like how many days and got so far before we shot it down? Like, wouldn't you think that we'd be like, I mean, that's just a little test, like, dip the pinky toe in the water and see where it takes us. And
like, imagine how many we have over China. Like, it just balloons. I love that they used the fighter jet to take it out too. That was so funny. Just like some guy bled out at Walter Reed.
But it was over Montana. Like I'm pretty sure I heard like reports of like ranchers and stuff shooting at it with rifles and stuff.
I'm sure. Definitely out here in Wyoming. I don't know. Like I think it'll be like a civil unrest thing here first before like we all unify and go fight,
Or
because
or will it be like the murals in the Denver airport?
the Denver airport, yeah,
And
that stuff's
like
crazy.
the global government with their boots on our neck.
I don't know, man. That stuff is pretty interesting, but
I gotta see this airport, man.
Oh,
it's kind of weird. They've embraced it now, like that when there's construction, because I fly into Denver a lot. When there's a construction thing going on, they're like New World Order business, don't look, or something like that.
yeah, no, yeah, but then it's
funny.
like what's there's some of them that even say like I haven't seen them, but like on the websites and stuff, it's like under construction, or is it a
Yeah,
global
something like that.
conspiracy?
Yeah. I don't know. All I know is Germany has like they spent billions on like defense, so they know something's coming. And like when the Germans are gearing up, it never ends well. But at least this time they'll be on our side. And then the Japanese too, because they're worried about China taking Taiwan. And apparently the Japanese archipelago stretches all the way to Taiwan. There's like little islands there.
Mm-hmm.
So the US is over there teaching them like amphibious landings and doing drills and stuff. So not that something is coming, it's just they're all prepping for it. And Japan and Germany and all of the NATO people on the same team this time will be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Because having German or Japanese yelled at you on the battlefield is probably very scary. But if they're yelling with you this time, it'd be kind of cool.
All you got to do is just put your Google Translate buds in, and you're good.
Oh wait, he said duck. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, man.
Well, not to get bleak, but yeah.
No, yeah. Hey, maybe it'll just be like a global EMP or something that the sun just mass coronal ejections, and it just puts us all back in the Stone Age. In which case, you may be at an advantage with the stone points and whatnot. So,
Yeah, dude, coronal or an EMP, something like that, is like my biggest fear of like how society would collapse immediately, especially here. So I for one welcome it. Like I want to I'll hide in the mountains. I already told my parents like I'm not risking going across the country to Nashville. Like I'm just gonna hang out in the Rockies, join the Wolverines.
Yep.
And I'll be good.
You join the Wolverines. Yeah. The drive, getting across the country. I don't know. I'm really like fascinated with all that stuff. I like to think about it in my head. Like, what would I do? Would I go? And all scenarios I lay out is like, everybody I know is probably going to die.
Realistically,
just assume that.
Potentially
and then
yourself.
We're gonna all be eating muskrats. Yeah, they're gonna be
Get
really
used
gross.
to it. Yep.
Yeah.
They have 45 babies a year. It's a good renewable resource for
Do you think you could start your own muskrat? Here, just getting a little crazy now, but start your own muskrat farm and raising the muskrats. No, but I'm saying like if other people are there hunting them, you could have your own like little sanctuary that you're keeping them, protecting them, so you can raise them for the meat.
Yeah, sure you could.
I don't know. All right.
Well,
I'm done. I'm done with this conversation. You guys really just killed the mood.
I could talk for hours about it, but yeah, no, I get it.
So anyway, right now you're out there, you're excavating stuff. I've been watching your videos. Seems really cool. Is this is a part of a job then? Or is this like something you're doing for the university or?
I'm full-time content creator now, I guess would be the technical job. But I do editing for people too. But yeah, like I just have an open invitation out here, like with the school to just come on out and film.
No way.
Yeah, like whenever I want. It's kind of cool.
That is amazing.
They can't always like pay me and put it into the grant, but it's like still free footage of crazy shit coming out of the ground. And I've dug with them and I've dug here before, and sometimes I do help dig too, but recently I just film. But I know what looks good, and like, not to sound pretentious, but like a Nat Geo crew could come through and just be like, "Whoa, what is that?" Because like, how do you make broken stone tools look sexy? It's not like the Coliseum. So like I can at least show like the cool stuff. So I like that aspect of it. I haven't done anything with the footage yet besides a few Instagram things, but I plan to make a big documentary on the site.
Okay.
Um,
That's
yeah,
cool.
my friend's the state archaeologist, so I just tag along with him sometimes and check out sites.
Man, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
So
I gotta imagine that's pretty boring for like a lot of the population.
Yeah, stone tools are boring unless you can imagine like what it all look like. Kind
Yeah.
of
I find
But-
it sexy.
same.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know what I didn't find sexy though? Have you seen the movie like Otz the Iceman or whatever?
I've never seen it, but I know of it. Not good?
Ruins. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't find it sexy at all. In fact, I never even finished it. So I normally try and make a point to finish movies, but that one I just couldn't
Same.
get through.
I watched the one where I changed the subject in accident, but the soccer team crashed in the Andes.
Oh, so good.
They made
The
a
new-
new one.
yeah, the new one?
It was excellent.
It was
What
so
was-
good. My
Wait, what was the name of the old one? Alive or something?
I think.
I
And
watched that
this
one.
I forget what it was called, but yeah, I watched it all in. I think the whole movie's in Spanish, but
Yeah, but it's in that awesome Uruguayan Spanish, which I love.
I couldn't understand a word. Put the
Oh,
subtitles
you
on, but not really. Oh, some of it, but
Okay, I was hitchhiking through Mexico in like 2009,
wow.
and I met, like, still to this day, probably one of the most beautiful women I've ever met in my life, and she was from Uruguay, and she had that sexy Uruguayan accent, and I was just sitting there on the beach just talking to her, just like mesmerized. I mean, there's no way that like I was ever, like gonna be in her realm of like
Sure.
But maybe
I know the
though,
feeling.
like
but she was like like I had a girlfriend with me at the time. We were both hitchhiking and we were both transfixed by her.
Wow.
we were just like, this woman is an angel.
wow.
That woman built different, dude.
But
It's a thing.
anyway, yeah, she had that accent, and that movie though is amazing. My 11-year-old ran away. She was crying. She couldn't handle it.
Oh, really?
So did they
Yeah.
eat each other in that one? Like it's the same
Yeah.
story, right?
Yeah.
Here's a real question. How long would it take before you ate somebody? Let's get real gritty.
Depends on the situation, but
I mean, they're already dead. I mean, you going to do it? And then the next question is, are you going to crave human meat from that point on?
I will say the props they used or the fake meat they used to look like people meat in that movie, like, did make me kind of hungry after a while.
Oh, oh.
Is it just like I was thinking in my head, like, what meat is it? Like, this is the prop, or is it like what do you call it? Like some kind of cake or something? I don't know what it was, or gelatin, but
I wonder
Yeah.
what baboon meat actually tastes like, because that'd probably be your closest bet to some type of primate.
Don't
Yeah,
they
I guess
say
so.
humans taste like pig though?
I don't know.
or like human skin's the closest to pig. That's why they shoot stuff in the pigs. But
Well,
yeah,
I have always heard that, and I've read like a whole book on cannibalism. They say that, we are referred to often in the literature as the long pig because
Hmm.
we taste like pig.
But who says this? That knows this?
I don't know,
actually
man.
got-
Cannibals.
Now I'm
They-
curious. Like, you know what I mean?
You're
Not that I
curious.
want to eat people, because I don't, because it's weird. But like,
But if I happen to be in a mountain
nah, I don't know if I
and
could.
there happens
I don't
to
know
be
if
a
I would.
freshly
Then again, I always say I have all these standards and morals, and when it comes down to it, I'm like, yeah, maybe.
I don't think I'd have an issue with it, like it at all. Like if you're like, there's no food, and that's all you got, like whatever.
Yeah.
But-
I mean,
Now I know
could
who's
see
going
it,
to
but
eat me first. I just figured it out.
yeah,
Definitely.
but have you ever read cases of mass starvation? Like there's that book Red Famine.
Mm-mm.
Talks about Stalin's war on the Ukraine.
I know
it-
of it, but I didn't read the book.
I mean, it's actually really surprising how few people engaged in
Cannibalism.
Even though they were starving to death. Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about like people that are like literally starving to death. Like you can see their skeletons in their body, and they're just like not engaging in cannibalism. Like I actually think that says a lot more about humans than we give credit to us.
It's an interesting point. Yeah.
Because you had people boiling their boots and their belts and eating dead horses.
Mm-hmm.
I'd eat a horse for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd eat a dog if I had to, but as long as I knew like what that dog was up to. Like it wasn't like a trash eating dog. It was fed good kibble.
Yeah. I mean, would you eat a dog though, knowing that it had eaten poop? Because like my dog just regularly munches down on poop out in the wild. Like I've seen him eat coyote poop, fox poop, bear poop.
He's just trying to get the mouthfeel for it. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm trying to get like a veal raised dog.
Yeah.
Veal-raised dog.
Nah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've always thought about writing like a novel. It's post-apocalyptic where there's like no animals left but dogs. So it was like a faction of people that eat them and like breed them because that's all there is. But then the other faction doesn't like that faction because they think it's like heresy to eat dogs.
Yeah.
So like worship them or something. Yeah. I just always notice like it is every like apocalyptic movie, there's always dogs in it. Like it's just like a theme.
Mm-hmm.
So why not just make one about the dogs? But then I could use like my logo as like the cult logo in the book and stuff. Mainly an excuse to have the main character be a ninja. Yeah.
Wow.
Or like the soldiers, how I'll have that like on their armor or something. I don't know. It's the stuff I think about at night.
Yeah. Well, you should write that, dude. I would read it for sure. I am legitimately obsessed with I'm really obsessed with post-apocalyptic stuff.
Same. I love like the anthropological themes in it and like the what ifs, and then I like the world building, and I'm like, well, how would that happen? Oh, okay. And then
I actually get really caught up though in the weeds sometimes. Like I'll be watching shows like me and my son are almost done with the whole universe of Walking Dead.
Okay.
And there's so much stupid stuff in there. Like I'm like, the biggest thing that I get hung up on though is like there's this big community, there's like 50 people, and then it's like they have a garden that's like smaller than mine. And I'm like, what are these people eating?
I hate the fact that they can go somewhere and sit on a swing set and swing on the swing, but the grass isn't grown up like all around it to the point where it's like completely reclaimed prairie. Like, just none of it makes sense. How are there still like vehicles 8 years later and they're siphoning gas out of them and the gas is okay, especially with ethanol in it, and it hasn't turned to like pure water? I mean, I'm calling their bluff.
That's a good question.
What about you? Have you ever watched Walking Dead, David?
Yeah, I loved it when I was in college. I watched it up till I think Negan, like that era.
Yeah.
And the tiger. I remember the tiger and being like, I can't keep up with this. I know it was from the comic book, but I think it was right when I moved to grad school, so I couldn't like keep up. But I liked it in the beginning. It was fun.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's like definitely like there's things where I'm just like, that's not, like you said with the cars,
Yeah.
All that stuff. I mean, they do address that. Like I've liked in the later stuff, like they have the Daryl Dixon series that just came out.
Are you watching all those too?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
So did you watch the Mexico one, the Fear the Walking Dead or whatever?
Yeah, that one is absolute garbage. It's the worst.
They all, I don't know. I can't get into them. Here's my thing. I want like a finite ending. I want something to start and finish. I don't want to have to watch 20 spin-offs. Like, I have a hard time with the whole Game of Thrones. Like, watch that. I was like, okay, cool. Then they come out with House of Dragons. Watch that. I'm like, okay, cool. And then what's the new one they got? Like, too much for me. Too much.
Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Yeah, it's getting a little too much now.
And then like,
is it even written by George R.R. Martin anymore?
Night of the Seven Kingdoms is a book he put out. It's like one of his favorites. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then there's like the one.
It's just going to be like a buddy comedy, but
A buddy comedy.
That's kind of what the book is. It's Brienne of Tarth's great grandfather, and he was like a big tall knight, and like they kind of are. It's like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. If you ever heard of that, like if Hamlet is the Lion King, Timon and Pumbaa are Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Okay,
and it's kind of that. But like they're watching all of the events of like the Blackfire rebellions going. I'm getting really nerdy, but all of that from their point of view. Yeah.
So did you read the book then?
I haven't read that one, but I've read Fire and Blood and I've read Game of Thrones. Or like the series. Yeah. I need to read it at some point. But it's 3 novellas in one book.
I see.
Yeah. Just it never really interested me, but now that it's a show, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I've never read any of the Game of Thrones stuff. I liked the TV show, but
what was the one with Uhtred and like Athelstan and
you're mixing 2 shows up.
That one was good. No, Athelstan was in that one, wasn't he?
Oh, he was, okay.
Yeah. But that was what was it?
Kingdom.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. But then like they made the movie, and I was like, nah. Ruined it.
Yeah.
I couldn't get in. It took me 4 times of trying to watch the movie to get through the movie.
I didn't watch it, but I remember starting that show and it was pretty good.
Yeah. Anyway, we're really getting off topic here.
Yeah, all good.
All good though.
But
yeah. Go ahead, Clay.
I was just gonna say, basically, everybody. I'm sure you already have every follower that is listening here, but if you don't, how do we get more people to follow you?
YouTube, TikTok, and YouTube, TikTok, it's David Ian Howe. And then Instagram is Ethnocynology, but you could also find it, just type it in my name.
Yeah.
I don't use LinkedIn.
You got like any other cool stuff coming up soon? I know you just mentioned that documentary thing.
I'd like to get that done as soon as possible. I've been sitting on it for 2 years. I have a new podcast coming out called Ethnocynology. That'll be with the Archaeology Podcast Network.
Oh, cool.
It's basically an excuse for me to have a boss to yell at me to get stuff pumped out.
Sweet.
So it'll be
I've
bi-weekly. Yeah, nice. It helps. So that'll be me like talking about dog stuff or just reading an article. It'll be the more science-based one. But then the David Ian Howe show on the YouTube is just, and my Spotify is me interviewing people I find interesting.
Dude, it is very fun to see your little clips where you guys are like dressed up as like Roman
I was trying to
soldiers.
wear a costume. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interviewing Flint Dibble in 2 weeks, so I'm gonna wear his like hat, but I don't know if he'll like be offended by that or not.
Oh man, I mean, congrats on interviewing such a big guy. But I'm gonna be honest with you here. I kind of can't stand that.
I don't even know who you're talking about. I'm not even sure.
Flint Dibble, he's just like now again, like I don't know him in real life. I'm just basing this on videos that I've seen of him. He does seem quite pretentious, and I can't stand his little like chuckle that he does, like he like that whole thing. Like he might be right, he might be totally right, and that's fine. But like, be a little bit more like
real.
I used to think Neil deGrasse Tyson was like this really cool, like fun guy. But
he's unsufferable to listen to now.
Yes, thank you,
Yeah.
Thank you. On top of like, dude, Terrence Howard, you could have been a little nicer to him. Like he just ripped him apart.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't watch that Terrence Howard one, but I heard it was crazy.
I watched
Word
it.
salad.
It was crazy. I see where he's coming from though. Like, okay, I've always wondered the same thing. Just because something isn't there anymore doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Same theory of water, right? Water has the different states, gaseous, liquid, all that, right? So why can't something else, including math or quantity, still have a different state? Like instead of 1 + 1 + 1 is 3, or 1 or 3 - 1, now you only have 2. Well, where does that other 1 go? Is it dimensional? I see what he's saying. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. Mathematically, in an application that we're actually using in everyday life, no. But in a different, like, quantitative way, I think maybe he has something there.
Listen, I think it's all word salad.
Word salad. Yeah. So I don't know, man. But I'm just a dude pretending, playing a dude.
Disguised as another dude.
Disguised as another dude.
That's an excellent movie.
One of the best, most underrated films of all time.
So Mark Maron's podcast, he interviewed, I think it was Ben Stiller, maybe, interviewed him, and he said, like, that movie is amazing because it's right at the height of, like, tabloid celebrity and, like what was that show, Access Hollywood and all that. And then, like, right after that, it shifted towards, like, YouTubers and creators and stuff. So it's like the last hurrah of how pretentious that, like, culture was.
Oh, yeah.
It will always stand the test of time because of that. Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
I love it.
Well,
but yeah, David and Howe, Ethnocynology, and thanks for having me on, guys. It's always fun.
Thanks for coming
on.
on.
Whenever.
We always love talking to you.
I like talking to you guys. It's like I liked this combo too, just free flowing from Aztecs to eating people, which kind of go hand in hand.
That's the title, from Aztecs to eating people.
There you go.
Nice. All right, man. Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon in your DMs.
Yeah, guys.
Slide
send
in
all
those
the feet pics
DMs.
you want. Yeah.
All
cool.
Right, man.
Good to talk to you guys. See ya.
And once again, thank you so much for listening to the Publicly Challenged podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please subscribe on whatever platform it is you're listening to. Also, if you could leave a review, that would help us out. And you can check us out on Instagram or at publiclychallenged.com. And once again, thank you so much for listening to the show.
Friends of NRA is your chance to support our Second Amendment rights and preserve America's hunting traditions. Join Friends of NRA at one of our 600 exciting events nationwide. From games to auctions and exclusive firearms, Friends of NRA events are your chance to support a cause you care about while having a great time with patriots in your community. Whether you're a seasoned shooter, an avid hunter or outdoorsman, or passionate about freedom, there's a place for you within Friends of NRA. Visit friendsofnra.org to find an event near you. Stand up for freedom with the Friends of NRA.
Oh, he man. You're gonna get 3 likes and 2 shares.
Don't miss a new episode of Duck Camp Dinners. It's coming at you every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on Waypoint TV.